So yeah, it's our last final day in Scotland. We are currently leaving.
As opposed to our other final day.
Right, not our penultimate final day. It's our last full day.
It's our last final day.
In Scotland, yes. So we're sadly leaving Southside, which if you look camera right, you may actually see the sign there and everything, depending on how wide this shot actually is. Wow, it's been lovely staying there. We're headed back to the Brunswick in Glasgow for our final night so that we can get up just crazy early instead of ungodly early.
Yes.
This is the meadows off to your right, our left. We walked through that a lot to get to
the Royal Mile.
The Royal Mile and
Old Town
shows and castles, and we didn't walk that way to get to any palaces here, but it's still a way to get there. And whiskey shops, at least one that we visited more than once, and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So I've asked the question a bunch of times, but I realize the ridiculousness now of this, but you've seen enough castles and palaces,
yes,
and distilleries and scenery.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
And would you consider coming back?
Yes.
Cool.
I would like to come back, in fact.
Yes. I think what we decided was maybe a little bit less hopping about and maybe picking a general region like the West or something like that and just spending more time there.
Yes. Agreed.
And you can see the meadows are like, there's this giant park. When we first got here, a lot of this was taken up by giant tents and stuff like that.
For the festival.
For the festival. We were here at the end of the Edinburgh Fringe Festival and the International Festival and the Book Festival, and there's another festival, I just can't remember what it is at the moment.
You said the Fringe, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and the Fringe is kind of funny because the Fringe Festival is the largest fringe in the world, largest alternative festival in the world as well. And it started off being shows that were on the fringe of the International Festival that were for people who wanted a slightly more casual experience instead of opera and you know, Broadway type shows. I guess they wouldn't call them Broadway type shows here. They'd call them whatever they call the same shows that are in London.
Musicals.
Cats. Yeah.
Musical theatre.
Yeah. So one of the better shows that we have ever seen anywhere, I think it's safe to say, was a Trap Moi, which was a 6-person circus, sort of an urban version of Cirque du Soleil type kind of thing. It was very much all the performers did a variety of things. So they would juggle, and they would do acrobatics, and the acrobatics were very much more parkour like. Yeah,
like they had, I mean, their set was effectively like an apartment building, and they sort of evolved the set as it went, which was kind of cool. It was like they were writing on it with chalk and putting pictures on it and stuff like that. It was
all flat paint, which was weird because you don't usually see that on a set. And then they started writing all over it, and it was great. You know, as the show evolved, we got everybody's names up there and photos of them that were important parts of their lives.
What are the strings that hold people together made of? That was something they wrote on the set that was just like, oh, cool.
Yeah, and
that needs to be a puppet thing.
They wrote it, like 3 or 4 people were all writing words at the same time, and when they finished writing it and stepped away, that's what it said. So it was neat. Am I going straight, or
you were going off to the right here,
towards
yes,
Glasgow?
You're following that car. Yes.
I just saw the sign after I started to ask the question. The signage here is very good, but if you miss it, you've missed it. So you need to pay attention. And there are signs that say "Caution, foxes," and things like that.
And humped pelican crossing.
Yes, we took a picture of the humped pelican crossing photo because
It's the oddest sign I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, and we figured we would ask a native what it meant, and the only person that we showed it to was Graham, and he was baffled.
Yeah, we got to see the statue of the actual Georgie Porgy putting a
Yes.
Who was King George or Prince George?
Very, yes, King George the something. They probably called him King George the Stinky, apparently, because he had terrible halitosis.
Breath, and he had like a 60-inch waist, and he made all the women kiss him, and so that's where the Georgie torch.
Thousands of women who went to this one party had to kiss him, and it was literally thousands, like 2,000, 3,000 women.
Kissed the girls and made them cry. You know, that's where that comes from.
So, there you go.
And we learned about where the expression earmarked comes from.
Yes.
It's very gruesome. I don't think you want to know.
Well, you can't drop a thing like that and not tell them.
Okay, well, at what was it called? It was at the Tron.
Yes.
Where
the Tron Gate.
So earmarked. At the Tron Gate, where there used to be, you know, these big markets and stuff in the middle of the street, and now there are shops, but you know. They used to have, you know, stalls and whatnot with people selling their wares, and you'd have to go into the Tron Gate and sort of they would measure, you know, how much, if you were selling things by weight and whatnot, they would randomly like sort of measure your stuff, and if they found that you were trying to cheat people, they would nail your ear
to the gate,
and the only way for you to get yourself free is to, you know, tear part of your ear off. Thus the word earmarked, because then you were marked. You're going straight through this one as well.
Thank you.
This way. Yeah. So everyone would know that you were a dishonest thief if you were earmarked.
Yes.
We learned that Edinburgh, one of its nicknames is Old Reekie.
Old Reekie.
Because they used to just poop in a bucket and throw it out the door.
Yes.
At a specific time of day, they would just throw their waste out the door. Which is really gross. You're going straight through this one.
Twice a day. 7 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock at night. Oh, yeah. Look at the Frenchie. The French Frenchie. The French Bulldog.
And you would shout, "Gardez-Lou!"
Which the French Bulldog would understand.
It's just
It's actually from "regarder l'eau," or "regard the water."
Yes.
Okay, y'all.
Yes, it's mind the water. Yeah. Yeah. So I've heard some bits of the story, but you know, history is not my forte anyway. But I've heard bits of the story about Mary, Queen of Scots before.
Right.
And so how accurate was... We went to the Palace of Holyrood yesterday.
Yeah.
And they tell you the story of Mary, Queen of Scots. And, like, you know, how she was married at a very young age, and then she was widowed at a very young age, and then, you know, like, she lost her father and her husband and her mother all in, like, 18 months and stuff like that. But then... at one point she was forced to abdicate, which that seems pretty consistent.
Yeah.
But then the bit that they told us, how is that consistent with the bit that they told us about Queen Victoria and like how they imprisoned her because she may have actually been a Tudor and therefore been the rightful heir to the throne?
Yes.
Is that why?
Yes. That's not the stated reason. I don't remember what the stated reason was. Yeah.
That is very sad.
Yes.
To me.
Well, there's all sorts of stuff that's sad about her. Her second husband believed that she was sleeping with her secretary and had him
Killed. Yeah.
Very brutally murdered in her chambers. So yeah, she led all sorts of sad life. But she had some really nice stuff though.
She did.
And her chambers were nice.
As does Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Her Majesty the Queen.
Yeah.
We got to see part of her wardrobe, which was very cool.
Yes.
They had an exhibition right now, which is like, you know, fashioning a reign, I think.
Yes.
And they showed bits of Queen Elizabeth's wardrobe from like when she was a wee girl up until now.
Yeah.
You
event right up into the current day. No, there were some dresses in the last room there that she had worn to 2013 or 2014
event.
It was a garden party at Holyrood.
Okay. Well, there you go.
So yeah.
But it was really neat because they showed like the photo of her wearing it and the dress itself, or and like all the hats. I of course dug seeing the hats.
Yes.
But they had like this gorgeous little pink coat that she wore when she was a little girl.
Yeah, she couldn't have been
really
more
precious.
than 7 or 8 probably.
Yeah, it's really cute. And the hat, the bonnet that went with it and everything, it was adorable.
And also a tartan skirt, so we now know that real princesses wear tartan skirts.
We have had unbelievable weather.
Yes.
For being in Scotland. I mean, it's rained, what, like 2-3 times?
Yeah, we've had rain worth noticing once a week on average.
Yeah, and but even then, we only really had one day where it was and it was a driving day anyway.
Right.
Where it was it was what I would consider a rainy day. We had scattered showers a couple of other times.
Right.
But that was it.
Which is the weather that you expect in, say, May or June.
Right.
When it's a little bit colder, but not in August. So Amy was forced into buying a number of t-shirts.
I had to buy t-shirts because I didn't bring any. I brought long sleeve things because I was led to believe the weather was going to be bitter cold and rainy, and so
Well, and we had a friend, a business associate friend, that was here 2 weeks before us that said it was 25 degrees Fahrenheit up on the North Highway.
Now
Northwest Way, they call it, and he was hiking. So it was below freezing.
Yeah, 25 degrees Fahrenheit.
3 weeks before we got up there, and it was t-shirt weather while we were there, and it was gorgeous.
Yeah. That's not to say that, I haven't needed long sleeves or layers. I certainly have, because, and that's been sort of the thing where it's because there's a fair bit of wind, and, so, and when the sun goes behind the clouds, it does get chilly. Certainly.
Yeah.
And especially when you go up to like the castles or you hike up things or whatever.
Arthur's Seat was ridiculous.
Arthur's Seat was crazy windy.
My poor tripod.
I did not do it myself. Chuck did it.
My tripod with the camera bag weighted down and hanging off of it still got blown over. So fortunately the camera wasn't on it yet, and I decided not to put the camera on it because I didn't expect the extra weight to really help that much, and I didn't want my camera banging down on the ground. It was awesome though. It was a beautiful view, and it was really great climb. And
he
everybody
did it in his sneakers.
Everybody was sweaty when we got up there, so it was we were all happy to have a nice cool breeze. Yeah, I had planned to change out of my sneakers and into my hiking shoes before I went, and then halfway up I looked down and went, hey, I forgot.
So, but yeah, all in all, I was really glad that we did Holyrood. I kind of felt like it was because we were exhausted by then. That was kind of the last thing that we hadn't really done.
On the we really want to do this list.
On the we want to do this list, and it was kind of we'd seen lots of castles, and handful
quite a
of
few
palaces
as well. Although all the palaces we had seen up until then were ruins.
Ruins, yeah. So yeah. So I could easily have seen us going, I guess we don't need to do Holyrood, but I'm really glad that we did it.
Yeah. I've been to Edinburgh a number of times and sort of always wanted to do it and never actually made it happen, and I'm very glad that I did.
Yeah. Well, because one time you were here and couldn't do it.
The royal family was there.
Yeah, that's where they stay when they're in town.
Yeah. The funny thing is that they originally used it as sort of a base of operations when they're going up to oh wow, editing time for sure here.
You said it this morning.
I know I did. Rolled right off the tongue, didn't it?
Yep.
Anyway, they have a big estate that is farther north, and Balmoral. There we go.
You go.
So
I knew it started with a B.
we're going to go back to that and start all over again. It was originally a place that they had been in the royal family for a long time, had been the royal seat in Scotland, but they didn't use it very often, and then the family began to use it to go up to their estate in Balmoral because it's a very, very long ride, and it was probably original by carriage or by car. Now, of course, you know, they fly in a jet or a helicopter or something like that,
Oh,
so not so much.
pyramids, sheep
Here we go.
pyramids.
If you look off to your left, our right, you will see some very yellow sheep on the sheep pyramids.
They're very yellow. I wonder if they've been rolling around on that paint or the
Yeah, or something.
chalk or whatever that was that was there.
The chalk.
But,
Yeah. Hey, there's a sign over there that says the Pyramids Business Park.
Huh.
Man, imagine being able to look out your window and see sheep hanging out on pyramids. That's a different working situation.
Yes.
So what else? So yeah, we saw one of the things that we needed to see were castles. So it took us a little while to get to our first one. It took us like a week before we got to our first castle. But we saw not Dumbarton. What's the name of the first one we went to?
Dunvegan.
Dunvegan. We went to Dunvegan, Island Donnan, Hales Castle we went to. We went to Tantallon Castle. We went to Edinburgh Castle.
We saw Urquhart. We didn't actually.
We saw
tour it,
Urquhart
but
Castle
saw
because
it
we didn't
from
want to
the
get
boat.
off and deal with all the tour ride.
Yeah, it was. And when I say a boatload, I actually mean that literally. It's a boatload of tourists.
So yeah, and the cool thing is we got to see 3 sort of complete working castles and 2 ruins, and then Urquhart also counts as ruins. We also got to see several palace ruins, including Linlithgow, which is the big one that we saw that was down here, but then also up in Orkney we saw the bishops and the Earl's palaces, which were both very ruined ruins. I wonder if there's probably some kind of grading system they have. We should figure that out.
About how much ruin it
Yeah,
is?
like, you know, if their wall is still standing, that's one level of ruin. But, you know, if there's just pillars, I don't know. And then, of course, we saw Holyrood Palace, which is not only a non-ruined palace except for the original abbey that's on the thing there, but, you know, still utilized by as royalty as you can get. So that was really cool. You wanted to see distilleries, and we saw Ardbeg and Lagavulin and Woodhaven and Highland Park.
Yes.
Excellent selection, I must say.
Yes.
4 of our top 10 easily, so that's great.
We also went to the whiskey shop in Edinburgh, which
Right.
was very nice. Jeffrey Street whiskey and tobacco.
Yes.
And had a little whiskey. We had a couple of whiskey tastings there, which was pretty neat. I also did not eat any haggis.
Right, and I mean, we're only here for another 16 or 18
I'm not
hours, so
going
the
to eat
chances are
haggis.
pretty low that you're not going to.
I'm not gonna eat it. Here's the thing. I thought about it this morning. If they just said it's lamb sausage, I would probably eat it. You know?
Yeah.
But number one, that's a terrible name, haggis. It sounds awful.
Well, you know my theory about British food names.
Well, I do, yeah, but then to actually, you know, it's one of those things you don't want to know
I've
how the
always loved
sausage.
this chapel over here.
You don't want to know how the sausage is made,
Right.
and I mean,
we
like,
do.
The description of what haggis is tells you how the sausage is made, and just I can't do it. It's gross.
Well,
No.
of course, if you ask most people in Scotland, they will tell you about the elusive haggis and describe sort of a big, flabby, usually flightless bird. But it's really, you know, sheep sausage.
Sheep intestines, yeah.
That was going to get gross.
Well, it is gross though, but that's what it is, and they tell you, you know. And I realize like that's ridiculous because I eat hot dogs and I'll eat, you know, other types of sausage and whatnot, and I realize it's all similar. It's all similar, but I don't want to know. And the fact that I know makes it inedible to me. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
It frightens me too much. I'm like, no.
It's gonna be weird going back home and Having an automatic.
And driving on the other side of the car.
Yeah, I'm gonna be when I'm hitting.
I messed that up as late as today.
Yeah, she did try to get in on my lap.
I tried to get in.
You did.
Jesus. I tried to get in the car.
You tried to get in Jesus? Seems weird. I didn't realize he was so big.
It's very difficult to do, really.
Especially for a Jew.
Well, he was.
Yeah. But, I mean, he must have also been a Christian because he believed in himself, so. I don't know. Not all improvisation works.
Joe Tourette strikes again. Oh, goodness. So yeah, I'm fascinated by how much renewable energy is in this country.
Yeah.
As opposed to our country, and Americans like to think there's a bridge that goes nowhere.
Well, it used to go someplace because you can see all the metal stuff kind of curling out of its ends.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we're just gonna leave this part. Okay.
It's the part they have to shut down the road to tear down.
Yeah, I guess. So anyway, Americans, we like to think that we're sort of leading edge on a lot of things, but we are way behind the rest of the world in a lot of ways. Mostly, I suspect, because our politicians are easily bought.
Yeah. So there's a lot of wind farms here. There's a lot of tidal generators. There are a lot of solar panels.
Yeah, there's lots of renewable energy, and
the cars are all tend to be much more fuel efficient. They do a better job recycling.
Yeah, that's for sure. We saw a bin in the park in the meadows in Edinburgh. I still can't figure this out.
Barbecue and dog fouling.
Barbecue and dog fouling waste. Like, I can't figure out what they're doing with that. Because if it were dog fouling and,
grass clippings,
fruit or, banana peels or something, then I would be like, oh, okay, they're composting that.
Yeah.
But they can't compost barbecue waste. Like,
right.
What are they doing with that? I don't understand.
I don't know.
It baffles the imagination. There's got to be some purpose, but I don't know what it is. Oh, I bet you'll be looking forward to me now punching you in the middle of the night.
I don't think you actually punched me at all last night. You did forcefully make room with your knees at one point.
I'm sorry.
It was I found myself sleeping very.
I'm sorry.
Pretzel-y twisty.
I'm sorry. I was grumpy this morning because whoever was in the room above us was up at 6:30, which is fine. But if you're staying in a guest house with like hardwood floors and there are people below you and you get up at 6:30, walk lightly. Don't tromp like an elephant. Bah!
Yeah.
Just, that made me very grumpy. I was like, are you serious?
I didn't sleep very well last night, all the packing and everything.
The last real night of my vacation where I get to sleep late and all that stuff, and I get woken up at 6:30 in the morning by somebody tromping around the room like a friggin' elephant. That was not nice. But, oh well. We don't need Stirling Castle because we didn't go there.
We got too tired to go to Stirling Castle. We saw a bunch of other stuff there. Stirling Castle is very similar to Edinburgh Castle in a lot of ways. It has a couple of neat, unique features, but we were very tired. Towards the end of a 3-week vacation, especially if you do some walking for most of it, and then a lot of walking for the last third of it. We're doing, probably 5 to 8 miles a day.
A light day was 5 miles.
Yeah. I think we probably got down as low as 4 at one point. But it was mostly 5 to 8 miles per day. Or I think you said 8.8 at least on one of the days.
Yeah, it was.
So, we did a lot of walking around.
And it's very hilly walking too, so like our calves are sort of stiff.
My legs are now, I would say, pretty much recovered from walking Arthur's Seat, which is delightful. especially considering we're staying in a hotel where, unless you're carrying bags, it mostly doesn't pay to wait for the elevator. It's an adventure. You kicked so much butt on the flight out here by every time something went wrong.
No.
You going, it's okay, it's an adventure. We're on vacation, and it's an adventure. And it was like, I'd be getting all worked up and everything, and you would say that, and I'd be like, she's right. It's not like we're not going to get there.